Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Luther Family Ford. It's the July Salute to Service here at Luther Family Ford. My name is Steve Hallstrom, President, Managing Partner, host of the Steve Hallstrom Show on AM 1100 The Flag, FM 92.3. It's great to be here today. And Brian, since we were here last summer, got here. We were in the 60s for temps, and now the summer weather is here. That must mean good things for car volume, because we have less room to do this interview than we did last month.
Absolutely. You know, we've got great inventory right now, and we're selling them really quick.
Yeah,
so
that's good to hear.
Yeah, the nice weather brings people in, so
Yeah.
it's nice.
Yeah, very good.
It's nice to have air conditioning here too.
I bet it
really
is.
warm
Yeah,
out there on that asphalt.
No, most of us like the warm temps, going to the lake or the pool or whatever. These guys have to work outside, so they're probably not quite as happy about it. But we are glad to have all of you with us, and all of you, thank you for coming, giving us a few minutes here at the dealership as well. Today we are honoring the North Dakota Highway Patrol, and yes, we are recognizing one individual, but really we're saying thanks to everybody on Captain Newin's team for all the great work they do keeping us safe out on the highways and interstates here in North Dakota. Captain Brian Newin is the leader of the gang there at North Dakota Highway Patrol. Brian, we thank you for your help in putting all this together today. Thanks so much. Appreciate you a ton. The men and women of the North Dakota Highway Patrol serve us 24/7, 365, whether it's hot, cold, rain, tornadoes, snow, whatever it might be, and we're very proud to do this every month with Brian and his team here at Luther Family Ford. Brian, we've been doing this for a number of years, and it never gets old coming over here and meeting the people, hearing the stories, and just saying thank you to these guys.
Yeah, it's great to see all these guys. You know, we have a pretty good regular schedule. We get to see them quite often, so it's great just to have everybody here and be able to, you know, recognize at least one person with the whole department at the same time. So yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, Brian was in law enforcement for a time, and at our station we get a chance to meet a lot of people that serve and protect us, and it's always a really great time to learn more about them and tell their stories. So we are going to introduce you right now to our honoree for this month, and would you please help me in giving a warm round of applause to Trooper Brian Larson. Congrats, Brian. So Brian, most of the people that come here for this, they would rather just kind of stay behind the scenes, not have anybody make a big deal. And here we got a whole crowd of people, but we hope that you understand it for the spirit that it is. And we really just appreciate you. And it's a great way for us and Brian's team to say thanks and say congrats as well. What's it mean to you to be honored by this in this way by your team?
We always appreciate any sort of support that is sent. Obviously, it's a tough job. Not everyone is always happy to see us. We know that there is a lot of people that support what we do, and we hear thanks quite a bit. So it is really nice to see the appreciation, even kind of like a semi-formal type of setting.
Yeah, well, we love doing it, and thanks for coming over. Want to say welcome as well to Dwayne and Diana, Brian's parents. Thanks for being here today. It's great to meet you folks here as well. Let me tell you a little bit more about Brian, then we'll do a few more questions with him here at Luther Family Ford. Trooper Brian Larson is a 10-year veteran with the North Dakota Highway Patrol. He began his career as a traffic trooper in Williston during the height of the oil boom. He then transferred to Fargo as a traffic trooper in 2020, where he's remained in that role for the North Dakota Highway Patrol. Trooper Larson is also an instructor for several programs within the NDHP. His instructor skills are a benefit to troopers with the NDHP and for other agencies as well. Trooper Larson teaches well over 100 officers each year in skills that remove impaired drivers from our roadways, which helps keep North Dakota safe and secure, and meets the mission of the North Dakota Highway Patrol by making a difference every day. Trooper Larson is an expert in testing impaired drivers. He's a standardized field sobriety testing instructor, teaching law enforcement officers from across North Dakota at the NDHP Law Enforcement Training Academy 3 times a year during the basic police officer training course. This course is taught over several days and is an important component of the basic peace officer training program. Impaired driving continues to be a leading cause of traffic fatalities in North Dakota. Trooper Larson is also an A-RIDE instructor. That's stands for Advanced Roadside Impaired Driving Enforcement. The A-RIDE program teaches currently licensed and experienced officers advanced skills to help these officers recognize additional and sometimes more subtle clues that drug-impaired drivers exhibit. The training Trooper Larson instructs is for the initial A-Ride training and refresher courses that occurs once an officer has attended the initial A-Ride course. The training is conducted statewide, and Brian instructs officers and at locations across North Dakota. Finally, Trooper Larson is a DRE expert, drug recognition expert, and DRE instructor. Trooper Larson has specialized expert training to test and determine the classification of drugs that an impaired driver is under the influence of. The initial training for this program is 3 weeks, along with annual continuing education and testing requirements. Trooper Larson had been a DRE for a number of years, and through his efforts with the DRE program, Trooper Larson was requested to be an instructor. Trooper Larson teaches all the new DRE officers in North Dakota with at least one training course each year. This instruction program requires him to remain a certified instructor, but also to stay on top of all case law and technical changes to the DRE program. The training is 2 weeks of intense classroom training and 1 week of in-the-field training where officers travel to other areas of the country to be exposed to dozens of drug-impaired individuals with different types of impairment. I bet you have some stories to tell once you get back from that. Organizing this training is arduous and requires working with law enforcement officers and agencies from other areas of the country. All the above training programs are integral to the safety of North Dakota citizens. Trooper Larson's efforts ensure that we have qualified officers statewide that can successfully locate, identify, test, and arrest impaired drivers. His expertise also lends itself to Trooper Larson having the skills and ability to remove alcohol and drug-impaired drivers from our roadways. Trooper Larson is an expert and is called upon locally, regionally, and statewide to assist the NDHP and our North Dakota Vision Zero partners in driving our fatality crashes in North Dakota to zero. Congratulations to Brian, and thanks for all that you do for the community. So I guess I'll ask you a little bit about your path to law enforcement. Is it something you always wanted to do? Did you have law enforcement members in your family, or how did you come to your position?
It is something that I've always wanted to do. I've known pretty much since high school that I wanted to be in law enforcement, and pretty specifically like the highway patrol or state patrol. That was kind of my goal going into college, was, get a college degree and then work for the North Dakota Highway Patrol here in North Dakota. There's a couple family members that are law enforcement, but also kind of my grandpa used to work for the Department of Transportation, so I felt kind of that urge, that calling to kind of work at the state level.
You're a highwayman.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
Yep.
Good.
So, yeah, otherwise, a pretty straightforward path from that.
What do you enjoy most about what you do? I'm sure every day is different. There's got to be a lot of different things that happen or could happen in the course of a day. Tell us about that.
Sure. Probably some of the best things are when we're actually able to help individuals, whether they're stranded on the side of the road. We help change flat tires, get them service, give them rides from time to time. So it's nice to be able to help them out, or if they call and have a problem. Also, it is nice to be able to help people when we get calls for reckless drivers or impaired drivers, to make it safe for everybody else, to get those individuals off the road or address those unsafe driving behaviors. So it is really nice when we can make a difference, and you can see that difference actually happening in the people changing their driving behaviors and actually just making our roadways safer.
Tell me a little bit about just how it feels to have all the training you do. We've been talking a lot about training in law enforcement with recent things with Secret Service and whatever, but that whole issue of training and continually studying and learning, and we heard about how you're going all over the place to get training. Tell me about that and what the kind of high points of that are for you.
Sure. So there's a few different things. That initial SFST training, all law enforcement officers in the country go through that. Same with North Dakota. So we'll get to teach that. Those are brand new officers. They're just going through the academy, so it's nice to get them going with the proper skills. The A-Ride, that's the next step. That's for people that have been on for a year or two. That's to help look for drug impairment. And then specifically the DRE program, the drug recognition expert, that's the one that's kind of near and dear to me. I mean, it's a very intense program. It's a lot of information that's crammed into those 3 weeks, and as well as our field certifications that are done, in California, Arizona, or out of state. It's a lot to keep up on, but it's a very worthwhile program to have, especially with the rise of marijuana, being legalized in some states, potentially North Dakota at some point. Also prescription medications, your fentanyl, all that stuff. It's not quite the same as alcohol. I mean, you can't smell most of those drugs. The impairment looks a little different, but at the end of the day, they're still impaired very much the same way as alcohol. So we need to be able to have those trainings, those programs to effectively remove those drivers and get successful prosecutions for those. So that's really the drug recognition expert really comes into play, especially with your DUI drugs. So
You've been working with some of the new people coming into the department now for a while. Tell me what some of the things, okay, there's a training, there's do this, do that, but what do you tell them when it comes to like the job and how to deal with the stress and, you know, all the things that go along with it? What are some of the things that you can do to kind of help them feel more comfortable going into a job where you just never know like how stressful the day is going to be?
Sure. A lot of it is, you know, develop good, solid relationships with people that you work with, like good friendships, someone that you can talk to, but also you got to have a really good work-life balance, like finding time outside of when you're working, you know, to be able to, you know, whether if it's with a significant other or friends or family, but having that time to actually get away from it and not have to think about law enforcement for a while. If you have that good life balance, that really helps quite a bit.
What are some of the goals and aspirations you have for your law enforcement career? Do you love doing what you're doing now? Or are there things you'd like to do in the days ahead?
We'll kind of play it day by day, but continue with being a DRE instructor. I really like that part of it. Gives me an opportunity to teach some fairly technical skills over and over, which is nice. Eventually, you know, one day we do have a state SFST and DRE coordinator that kind of works on running those programs. Potentially, maybe one day stepping up into that role to be able to run that DRE program for North Dakota. So that's a possibility. Yeah. But like I said, kind of we'll take it day by day. So far, I like what I'm doing.
Well, we're glad that you do. Tell me about this team of people. A few of your coworkers are here with you today. Tell me about the colleagues, and you talked about it's great to have those relationships. Tell me about how your department gives you that.
Sure. I mean, we have a great group of people that work in Fargo and department-wise across the state. You know, everything from our leaders, sergeants, captain, you know, other troopers that you work with on a day-to-day basis. For the most part, it's a really pretty good team. And you can kind of bounce ideas off each other. You know, if you're not sure on something, you can call someone else. Same thing, people call me. I try to answer the questions for them. All in all, it's a good team.
Yeah. Tell me about someone looking to get into law enforcement. What would you say to encourage them about the kind of career that you can have working for the Highway Patrol?
Yeah, I would say just try to get as much exposure to law enforcement programs as you can. You know, whether that's some agencies have like cadet programs. We don't, but other agencies do. The Highway Patrol does have our, like over the summer, like a youth academy. So it gets like a few days in Bismarck, you know, as you can see what we do. Ride-alongs, if they're available, internships. Basically anything you can do to get exposure with those agencies. And I would say check out different agencies because we have a slightly different job than a police department or sheriff's department. A lot of it's very similar, but every department does things just a little bit differently. So I would say, yeah, just try to get as much exposure into that to see, hey, is this something that seems interesting to you? Do you like that? And if so, you know, gives you that knowledge to be able to get to a spot where you could work for us or another agency one day.
Good advice. I'm going to wander over here and talk to Captain Brian Newen. We got 3 Brians here today. I'm outnumbered. I didn't get the Brian memo, but thankfully these guys let me hang out with them anyway. Captain Newen, thanks again for your time and getting us all together here. I read the information, but just speak from the heart for a minute, if you would, about your trooper here and why he's being honored today.
You know, we have a great team. You know, Brian's a part of our team, has been a part of our team for a little over 10 years for us in Fargo here just for a short period of that time frame, but you know, he's made a big impact. You talk about these programs that he's involved with for our agency. It's not only impacting troopers from our agency, but it's impacting law enforcement officers across our state. He's even taught out of state down in South Dakota, the DRE program. So, you know, his skill set is really integral to the safety aspect of our agency and making sure our roads are safe each and every day. Like he talked about, you know, marijuana use is skyrocketing. It's becoming illegal in the states that are surrounding us. There's potentially going to be a vote on that here again this fall for us in North Dakota. All the other, you know, fentanyl, methamphetamine, the other problems that we have. So it's really, you know, it's important for us to have skilled officers out there that are able to recognize the indicators, and Brian is one of those individuals that's teaching all of our people, and he's an integral part of our agency. And then you throw in what he does day to day. That's not his day-to-day job. You know, we have troopers in our agency that have to have these specialized skills to teach other people. They do it on a volunteer basis. He's not getting any extra pay for that. There's nothing extra for him. It's all on a volunteer basis. And we have troopers across our agency that do multiple things each and every day on top of those normal duties that they have to have, responding to crashes, responding to highway assists, making traffic stops, taking people to jail. You know, they're doing these things on top of that. So it's impressive what our people are capable of doing as a small agency, smallest state patrol in the country, the things that we can do as an agency across the state of North Dakota.
Well, I love that comment. And so many times we hear people saying, why are these people in law enforcement? just want to try to go shoot people or whatever silly things you hear from people really speaks to the character of people like Brian and some of your team members. And we hear so often from people, I'm here because I want to make a difference. I want to serve my community. And when you hear things like that, it makes you realize how true that really is. I want to ask you, I always like to do this with the head of the agency that visits us each month. Give us some trends or some things that are happening across the state right now, things that you and your team are watching out for on the roads that are happening here as we get into the late summer months.
You know, it just one of my sergeants is here today. He was working yesterday, and they said they had about 25 reckless driver calls yesterday. We have kind of in the summer months, it's the 100 deadliest days, right? It's more severe crashes happen during our summer months. You're seeing that here again in North Dakota. Our traffic fatalities are spiking this summer. So what we're seeing is the distracted driving. People are speeding, the impaired driving, and lack of seatbelt use, and that's really what's causing our crashes right now. Are those things, and you know, it takes people to make those choices. We have a Vision Zero program. Our goal is to get down to 0 fatalities. 94% of crashes historically involve driver error. It's somebody committing some sort of violation. So if we can get 94% of those people not to commit those violations, we reduce almost all of those crashes that happen. So really it does take the choice of people when they're out there driving to pay attention to what they're doing, follow the laws that are out there, and really be a safe defensive driver.
What's behind reckless driving? Like, that seems to be one where you'd say, how does that happen? Is there something that's driving that, or substances behind that? What's behind reckless driving?
You know, about 10% of our DUI arrests in the Southeast region every year are off of a reckless driver call. Somebody's called in saying, hey, somebody's weaving down the road, somebody's committing some sort of violation. And about 10% of our DUI arrests every year are based off of that. So it really is important for people when they see those the violations to call those in, because they are eyes and ears. We can't have troopers everywhere, but we can respond. So those eyes and ears of the public are really important for us. And really what it comes down to is that we're seeing a ton of distracted driving. That's probably what a lot of our reckless driving calls are, is people are just distracted as they're driving, and that's causing them to weave all over the road, or it's impaired driving.
All right, Captain Ewan, thank you for being here with us today.
Yeah,
we do appreciate it very much. All right, well, we have got a couple things to finish up here before we put a wrap on this one. Brian's team here at Luther Family Ford is donating a $100 gift card to our honoree, and we had a chance to visit a little bit ago, Brian, about where you'd like that to go to, and there's an organization here locally that you think could use that blessing. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it would be the Ronald McDonald organization.
Ronald McDonald House. They do great work here in the community, making sure that young people who are suffering from some medical conditions can be in a place where their family can be there too at a very big time of need. So thanks for that. I'm sure they'll appreciate that very much. Sandy's Donuts also saying their thanks. We'll be making a delivery of goodies to the Highway Patrol office and here at Luther Family Ford as well. We have an honoree section on our website, am1100theflag.com, where you can read more about Brian and all the other honorees in our program as well. And in the days ahead, Trooper Larson will be visiting with Kevin and Alex on the Need to Know Morning Show on the Flag, doing a radio version of this as well. The last thing I always like to say is that at our company, when law enforcement takes action and it makes the news, we understand there's a lot of training that goes into making those decisions to discharge a weapon or to become active in a way that can result in the harm to another individual. We know that those are decisions that are made with a lot of training and a lot of perspective behind them, as they understand and calculate those risks very quickly in situations that they don't know how it's going to end up on the other side. It's very easy to look back in the rearview mirror and say, well, should have been easy to figure out what was going to happen, but you never know while it is happening there as well. So we give the benefit of the doubt to the men and women who serve and protect our community with all the training that goes into that and the great decisions that they make day in and day out serving our community. With that, that'll bring an end to our ceremony here for July. We'll be back here in August, and it'll be very quickly, I'm sure, that we'll be back again doing this. But again, we want to say thank you to Brian, you and your team here. Thanks for doing this again. Great to be with you and your guy.
Yeah,
your gang.
It's definitely great to be here again, and it won't be long in August we'll be here, right?
Yeah, you're right about that. And we will see you back here next month on am1100theflag.com. Take care and have a great day.